right now, guys, we are going to move on to Double D's sexy numbers. And Dan, what do you got for us this week?
Well, if you were paying attention, if you are up to date, this will spoil the matches that have just been released on YouTube. So for the first match with Laura Kelly and Molly Damon, Laura won. So that gained. So we can pull up the graphic. The first graphic, please. Yes. So if that earned Swag 4 points. However, the dungeon and Mara Kanopik managed to get back the IG belt and took it away from Chandru, so that earned the dungeon 7 points, which puts the dungeon in first place as of right now. Who would have said? Mark it on your calendar. The dungeon is in first place, people. And Swag, they are behind in second place. So let's move on to the next graphic where we can see where the rest of the factions are going to stand till March 26th. So corruption will still have obviously corruption, FinStock Exchange, Quirky Mercs, the Stars, the Den, usual suspects. They haven't played any matches yet, but so they still stay the same if you remember from weeks prior. But corruption still has a high of 16 with a low of -5, and they could still have a. I predict that they'll be ending. They'll end the month between 11 points and 0 points. Swag, they move up, and no matter what happens with Swag, they have 3 more matches. They will at least be in the black. They will have at least 1 point as a low, but they can go as high as 14 points. But I say that they will probably be somewhere between 11 and 4 points. FinStock Exchange has a high of 13 points with a low of -4, and they could probably most likely be somewhere between 9 and 0 points. The Quirky Mercs have a high of -22 points and a low of -5, and they'll most likely end up in between 17 and 0 points. The Stars have a high of 24 points and a low of -5, and will most likely end up somewhere between 19 and 0 points. The Den has a high of 17 points and a low of -5 points, and will probably end up somewhere between 12 and 0 points. The Usual Suspects have a high of 14 points and a low of -4 points, and will most likely end up somewhere between 10 and 0 points. The Dungeon, who is in record-breaking first place, they have a high of 18 points and a low of 4 points. So what that means is no matter what happens now, the dungeon will be in the black. They will not have negative points at the end of March. But most likely they'll probably end somewhere between 15 and 7 points. And we can clear that out now. And so, ASG, what do you think?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this?
So that's where they'll end March, likely? Is that what the...
Most likely, wherever you see that bar, that's where most likely they'll be. Maybe they'll be somewhat above, maybe a little bit below, but most likely that's where they'll end up.
Okay, that's very interesting, and the crazy thing about those numbers is, only one person can win the Star Wars title, so one's going to end up here, one's going to end up down here.
Yeah, but you know what? The thing is even if they get 0 points, we're looking at the faction overall.
Right.
So we're not focusing on one specific player. We're looking at the whole.
Oh, yeah, I meant high end of the bar versus low end of the bar.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, I mean, I don't know. With only those 2 matches, there's a whole lot of season to go. So,
Yeah, I mean, because this is just till the end of March 26th specifically.
Okay, so it doesn't include the Damon
versus. This
versus.
doesn't include any matches that Christian has made up on SEN or on his show on Stereo or with us. It's only till the end of March because that's what's available on the schedule. And basically, I'll make the predictions for April once the schedule gets released, and then you'll start seeing where they fall for April, and then we go on and on till the end of the season. And then we'll say this is where most likely who's going to win, because if with corruption specifically, like last season, corruption was up here, swag was like right here. And their high was like right here. So it's like they had no margin for error. So as soon as Winston lost the Star Wars match, corruption won. So that's why I broke it on our show the very first week that if Winston loses that match, it's over for corruption. Corruption will win, and I kind of predicted that. And let alone I was right. But the interesting thing is, when you look at these graphs overall towards the end of the season, I noticed that Roxy and Shannon could benefit from each other, and that's why I'm like, holy shit, Roxy and Shannon need each other in order to actually benefit from each other. That blew my mind. So obviously this is early in the season. They're just laying the groundwork. But it actually is exciting to actually see these results in real time and seeing where it progresses.
Okay. But it ends that last, let's say, full week of March. Like Christian announced that the last day of March is going to be Alex Damon versus Barbarian for the winner plays the IG. That's not factored in there.
That is not factored in. It's
okay.
Whatever was available on the website before the season started, that's what's factored in. So anything that was announced after that, so now or last week, those are not factored in.
Yeah, I think that was announced on this show with Jay will play later. It was, I think, part of that interview.
Yeah, he announced Kalinowski. I have it in my notes. So he announced Kalinowski versus Damon versus Barbarian, which was a #1 contender match. I did take notes.
You want to hear something funny? The mic wasn't on that whole time.
No way.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, wow.
So smooth.